Hey there and welcome back to Mass Effect 2. My name is Pete, and in this final episode of the year, we complete the last two small assignments that we still have left before we then have no other choice but to continue with the game's main questline. Before we jump in though, we have to take care of things in the captain's cabin. More specifically, we have to feed the fish. Since buying our first fish on the Citadel, this is now something we will have to do after every single mission and assignment, otherwise the fish will die and we will have to buy new ones. And so far I've always done this off-screen with some sneaky editing, but since today's episode is rather short as it is, I thought I'd take the time to quickly go over it. Later on in the game we can have this taken care of for us. For the moment though, we have to return here after every mission or assignment. It doesn't take a lot of time, but it's easy to forget about it, especially when missions tie neatly into each other.
No messages for you, Commander.
Now in the future I will very likely keep this edited out, unless of course you want me to show it, but right now I don't really see the point. And with that we are now ready for the first of two short assignments in this episode. Last time we left off after completing Kasumi's loyalty mission in the Boltzmann system, but for what comes next we will have to do some traveling, back to the mass relay inside of the Widow system, and then over to the Hourglass Nebula. We now enter the Osoon system, where we will also eventually continue the game's main quest line on the prison ship Purgatory. For the moment, however, we will do nothing else but to stock up on fuel and then head towards the Ploitari system. This system has a total of 4 planets, and we will do some quick scanning before we get started. And our first stop is the frozen planet Thegan. And this planet should be the priority in this system because it is the only one with some element 0, of which we obtain roughly 4,500 units here, alongside 6,500 iridium, 4,500 platinum and a whopping 12,000 palladium. Moving on, we then have Sinolus, another palladium-heavy planet. However, this time no element 0 is present, and so our final probing results are roughly 5,000 iridium, 3,500 platinum and another 12,000 palladium. That's the system halfway scanned already, only 2 more planets remain, and the next one is the dwarf planet Aigela. This one is heavy on the iridium side of things with just over 10,000 units, but we can also get our hands on 4,500 platinum and 6,000 palladium. One more planet left to go, and that is also where our mission will take place, so an anomaly is coming up shortly.
Anomaly detected.
General distress. User unregistered or record damaged. Nature of incident is not recorded. Assistance is requested. General distress. User unregistered.
Something on our sensors.
Right, here we are. We have detected an Alliance hotspot, because apparently down on the surface of Zanetu here lies the wreckage of the MSV Estevanico. The ship has been missing for a good year at this point, so in just a moment we will go and investigate. For now though, let's grab some resources while we're here. In total, we can obtain roughly 11,000 iridium, 5,000 platinum and 5,500 palladium, and with the planet sufficiently probed, let's head to the surface and get a closer look at the wreckage. As you can see, this is a one-man mission with absolutely no hostiles present. However, the situation out here on the wreckage still seems pretty dangerous.
It is likely that searching the wreckage would provide information about the Estevanico's final hours. Warning: disturbing the wreck could cause it to become unbalanced and fall over the cliff's edge.
Now, this mission is pretty straightforward and shouldn't take you more than just a few minutes. Your goal is to reach a certain point of interest on the other side of the wreckage, and the main challenge really is to find the way over there. To continue, we now need to shoot down the loose tile here, which then conveniently falls in place and builds a nice bridge for us. On the other side, we can then get our hands on the first of 4 iridium containers scattered across the ship, and finding all 4 should of course also be on your checklist for this very short mission as well. However, all things considered, it is actually quite hard to miss them, as they are more or less placed right along your path. It is, by the way, also more or less impossible to actually fail this mission, unless you crush yourself with the loose tiles we shot down earlier. Apart from that though, you can take your sweet time here on the wreckage. Even though the ship is swaying and creaking heavily, it will not fall off the cliff no matter how long you take. Shepard himself is also at no risk of falling down. There are quite a few invisible barriers that keep us safe with ground beneath our feet, and so even if you try your hardest, falling off the Estevanico is impossible, at least as far as I know. All things considered, this makes for a fairly uneventful mission, one that captivates more with its atmosphere than with its overall mission design. I think you'll have to admit running from point A to point B and collecting 4 containers on the way is not hugely spectacular, but doing so on the skeletal remains of a ship hanging across a massive cliff that has a certain eerie calm to it that we don't really see much in other missions in the series. Then again, if you find all of this incredibly boring, then at least the mission is short, and even if you take a while to find your way across, then you should still be able to complete the mission in well below 5 minutes. Now you may have already noticed a faint red glow ahead of us, which pretty clearly marks our destination for this mission. So from this point onwards, the only thing that could stop us would actually be a bug, of which there are apparently a few here, although me personally I have not yet run into any of them, even after multiple playthroughs. And with that, we have now also grabbed our 4th Iridium container, so all we have left to do is head towards the red light and access the ship's mainframe. And here we are, with the Estevanico swallowed by the abyss, but with our mission completed. We have retrieved some data from the ship's mainframe, and for that we receive 125 experience points, as well as a reward of 7,500 credits. The mineral containers on the wreckage gave us an additional 2,000 units of iridium, and that is absolutely all we can get out of this mission, so let's close the report.
Commander, you've received a new message at your private terminal.
Back on board of the Normandy, we then receive a message to wrap up this mission, and this one comes from Dr. Richard Talos, curator of the Alliance Museum of Galactic Exploration back on Earth. Dr. Talos thanks us for recovering the Estevanico's data that shows how the ship was attacked and overrun by Bloodpack mercenaries and Vorcha soldiers. He concludes that the Estevanico's crew was actually the first Alliance crew to encounter the Vorcha. Sadly though, the encounter did not go in their favor. Now we also have a second message here that we can take a quick look at, and this one comes from Martin Burns. Now the name might not ring a bell immediately, and that is because we only had one very brief encounter with him, and that was back in episode 34 of our Mass Effect 1 playthrough, where Burns was held hostage by some human biotics on board of the MSV Ontario. We were able to defuse the situation and got him out alive, for which he thanks us here at length. He also mentions that L2 Biotics have in fact received reparations for their implants, while back in Mass Effect 1 his vote against the reparations was the original cause for the dispute. So it is certainly nice to hear that both sides eventually got along, even though negotiation tactics were, well, questionable at times. For us, it is now time to continue, and we'll do so with some research. In Kasumi's loyalty mission in the last episode, we picked up the tech damage upgrade, which now costs us 1000 element 0 to research and gives all of our squad members a 20% bonus to tech power damage. Researching this upgrade also unlocks the tech duration upgrade, which comes with a slightly larger price tag, but is just as, if not more useful, as it provides us with a 20% bonus to tech power duration. So we will grab that as well and then head back to the galaxy map. On the way there, we once again need to make a quick stop in the captain's cabin to take care of the fish, but I will speed that up here, and in the next episodes I will likely edit it out again entirely.
No messages for you, Commander.
Now, with the Ploitari system completed, we have actually also completed the second of 5 missions for the Agent achievement, which requires us to complete missions that can only be found by planet scanning. Our next mission, meanwhile, is marked on the galaxy map already, and it actually concludes our small questline with Aria, who we met back on Omega. In exchange for our help, Aria gave us the location of an Eclipse smuggling depot, and that is exactly what we are about to drop into, and also the reason why I so meticulously plan to have the M-920 Cain with full ammunition at this point. That weapon should allow us to effortlessly complete this mission. However, just as a backup, we will take our 2 squad members with access to Overload, which would be Miranda, and in her new loyalty outfit, also Kasumi. Ability-wise, we then have a few points to spend, at least in theory, but we are once again saving those. With Shepard, we'll wait for the next level up to max out Adrenaline Rush, while with Kasumi we have no other choice but to wait, since all possible upgrades cost 2 points to unlock and we only have 1 available. With Miranda then, we don't even have any points to spend, so let's continue with weapon selection. The only weapon I highly recommend having here is the M-920 Cain, and if all things go according to plan, the rest of your loadout will not come into play. Right, so as soon as we drop down, 3 heavy mechs activate, and they will now begin destroying crates. Every crate destroyed lowers our reward for this mission, so ideally we want to keep them all intact, and that is where the Cain comes into play. One well-placed shot right into the middle of the map is enough to destroy all 3 mechs, and with that the mission is technically already completed. We will stay a while longer to do some looting though, and I guess I will also have to mention that this is not guaranteed to work every time. The main factor that seems to play a role here is your level, because enemies in this game do scale up to you. So the earlier you have the Cain with full ammo, the better, because it guarantees that things go smoothly. However, if your level is too high, some of the enemies might survive, at which point you want to take them out very quickly. Your squad mates can be very useful in that regard. Overload could work well since we're dealing with mechs, but other damage dealing abilities could do the job just as well. The crate of heavy weapon ammo that is present on the map should of course not be overlooked, and the maintenance system here then gives us a bit more intel. And it seems like activating the mech was a planned procedure, because it is mentioned here that the Eclipse were ready to shut the place down if someone spotted them. That someone has now arrived, and over by the security systems here we can also see exactly what happened. After our ship was spotted, the so-called farewell protocol was initiated, the mechs were activated, the terminals were locked, and well, the rest is history. Before we now make our exit, we can grab a medkit and a crate of element 0, and once we have everything, we are now ready to leave. And here we are, with all 20 crates saved in what I think is the optimal way to go about this mission. Yes, it requires a bit of planning ahead, but in the end you save yourselves a lot of trouble. The rewards here then are already familiar: 125 XP, 7,500 credits and 500 units of element 0, and that is once again absolutely everything we can get out of this mission.
Commander, you've received a new message at your private terminal.
To officially wrap things up, we now once again have a short message here, and this one comes from Cerberus Command, briefly thanking us for taking care of the Eclipse depot. Apparently they already knew about it, but just like us, they worried about the crates getting destroyed before they could clear out the camp. Well, once again, a good thing we have the Cain with us, and believe me, that weapon will come in handy in quite a few other missions as well. For today, I think we'll wrap things up right here, but not before I ask you a small question. I think we have already reached the point in this playthrough where we can safely stop probing planets for minerals. I had a look at the numbers, and with the missions that are still to come, I think we have enough minerals to complete all the remaining research upgrades, so in theory we don't need to go out and collect more minerals. Now my question at this point is, should we continue to do so regardless? After all, this is a completionist playthrough, and admittedly the completionist in me has a small problem leaving planets with rich mineral deposits behind. At the same time, buying all those probes for minerals we don't need is definitely a waste of resources, which I also can't really justify. So I would like to hear your opinion on this. Should we continue probing for the sake of completion even if we don't need the minerals, or should we save the money instead? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and with that I think we can now make the cut in today's episode. We have now completed absolutely everything we can do before we have to continue with the game's main storyline, which is obviously what will happen in the very next episode. Until then, as always, if you enjoyed this one, then I would be happy if you could leave a thumbs up, and if you want to support the channel further, then you can either subscribe if you haven't already, or you can also support the Pete Complete Patreon, which has just received 2 brand new tiers. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.